Hello, everybody, and welcome to IPLCast. This is our 5th episode, and if it's a little dark around here, you have to understand that it's winter right now where we are. Joining me, as per usual, are my fellow admins Rowan and Rob/Athens.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
And joining us as well is Classy Clouds Coalition member Laniek. Mudkip with a top hat, who may quip from time to time, or he's just here to spectate, whichever one works. How's everybody been?
Good.
Doing all right.
We are a bit late today.
We are a bit late today because I have been driving. But anyway, we're here. We're here now, and I actually brought a. This was one of the Street Pass. Not Street Pass. This was one of the Nintendo letterbox prizes that we sent to somebody. This is the Getting Buzz T-shirt, straight off T-Turtle. And this puppy glows in the dark. I'm really, really, really happy about this shirt. I didn't design it, but it's a wonderful thing to have in your wardrobe. Okay, it's irritating when you're trying to go to bed and this is the shirt you're wearing. Let's kick off the news, shall we? We've got a lot of stuff to cover, and we were planning IPLcast and didn't even realize that the biggest headline of the year was going to drop. So without further ado, let's tackle the big thing.
Hoenn is confirmed. Pokkén has announced that Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire will be released worldwide in November of this year. This announcement has surprised literally everybody, without there being so much as a hint that this game was in development. The press release mentioned that the two new games will be a fresh take on Ruby and Sapphire, and promises to take players through a dramatic story within a spectacular new world. People have been speculating as to the meaning of this, but considering Nintendo's recent efforts to shake up the formula, I myself expect them to probably do more than just a port and a buff of the old game we know. So the big question is, if they do give us a whole new world, do we still get to explore the old one like in the second-gen games?
That'd be great. Let's talk about the announcement first, and then let's run to it bit by bit, because there's a few things. There's a thing coming up tomorrow as well that
I've got that,
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you still?
The only information available right now is that the game will have 3D elements, but a commercial for Nintendo's Get TV has revealed that they'll be discussing the game in the show's next airing, which will be this Sunday. If you can't watch it live, be sure to check the internet afterwards. An interesting note people have been pointing out is that Alpha is the first letter of the Greek alphabet and Omega is the last. The markings on Kyogre and Groudon are also different to the original designs, so could this be hinting something?
I would say yes. Nintendo always tries to add something to their existing formula to try and buff it up. How much different? I think we're gonna have to see in November. But literally,
depending on how much they reveal on Sunday.
Yeah. Although I will say that literally the day came out, I went to my local. This would be GameStop in the U.S. I went to the GameStop in the U.S. and I've actually put in the pre-order. So,
so imagine when they announce that it's going to be
as soon as it got announced, you can see it there. I've put in the minimum pre-order. They didn't. You can't even see it. It's a pre-order sell deposit, and it just says special R12, special R14. It's literally not on the system at the games yet, and they've already made it available for pre-order. And as usual, I've pounced and pre-ordered it on the day one announcement again.
My brother's birthday is the 4th of November, so this just made birthday gift that much easier, and I find it especially hilarious that this is the third generation, where we actually started dividing the games between us, because before that I was an only child.
Yeah. Aww.
He's 9 years my younger. It doesn't matter now because he's now 14.
I'm still holding only child status, although Pokemon obsessed wife to be equals presents are going to be fairly
We
easy.
get both of them though. We don't split them.
Yeah, we each get both versions. So between us both, there are four individual games.
To be honest, we should probably start splitting them. That'd be a lot more cost effective.
Yeah, true, but I do the double playthroughs. I actually have 2 units with which to play through them. So depending on when they come out and whether
Depending
Nintendo
on
will
when
be...
they release the download, because you know they'll release the download.
Oh yeah, and if and when they release the download, you know how it's going to work for me. I'm going to be up until past midnight. Then as soon as the store unlocks them, I will be downloading them straight in, and you have to wait until the morning.
Nice.
What I think we should do is we should each get a download version, and we should each get the cartridge version.
I don't want the download version though.
Oh, right, fine. You get the cartridge version.
You've already pre-ordered them anyway.
Yeah. I usually hand the pre-orders to you though once they're once the download versions become available for pre-order.
Yeah, he did that with the last generation. I'm glad I didn't bother pre-ordering those.
She knows how late I waited, and considering that they released at around the same time that the animated trailer for IPL released, I had time. There was a bit of a rush. What's really good about this is that they're continuing what they started in X and Y, and they're doing a worldwide release. Very good.
Yeah.
This does something really, really good for me in that we don't get the data from Japan before we get it here. So the whole world is now engaged in this sort of mystery of what we're going to get next. I would say not to the same degree that X and Y were, because X and Y was a completely new generation. But this means that Nintendo is back where it was during Red, Blue, and Green
days.
Yeah, when they were in the original generation days, they have information control again. They like even though there are occasional leaks, they've got so much information control at the moment that it's they can trickle this stuff and pretty much feed our anticipation. So I think this is a really good move for Nintendo. This was sudden. I have to say though, no one was expecting this.
They've
Absolutely
gotten really
no one.
good at hiding stuff, honestly.
I'm lying if I say that no one was expecting this. People were expecting this just not in this manner.
Everyone was expecting it, but they weren't expecting the announcement.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people were hoping for it. There is a story of a guy who I think several years ago commented that I think it was when Hard Gold and Soul Silver came out. Commented that commented on a YouTube video and went, "I hope they do remakes of Ruby and Sapphire." And some dude about 12 hours later commented and said, "It's never going to happen. They're not going to do Ruby. They're not going to do Sapphire." And then all these years later, this guy replies to this comment and goes, "F you, a-hole. I told you so. I was right all along." How much comment spite do you carry in as a grudge to go back all those years later to this offhand comment and say, "I was right all along"?
I'll be honest, I would have done the same thing.
This is the same, but this is the love we see for the third generation. Although, like personally, the third generation isn't my biggest of all of the generations. It's in the fandom. It's held pretty close. So to have a remake come in during the 3D generation is big. It's really big.
I have like 20 things in my drafts on Tumblr that are all about Hoenn Confirmed and trumpet jokes, and I've got one right here. Ultra Mario, like I almost not to do it, whatever, something saying they posted January 16, 2013, they should make Pokemon Alpha Ruby and Omega Sapphire, and they should use the same music and graphics style of the upcoming X and Y games. Somebody then replies, "How?" And then again, "Find Ultra Mario 256. The Prophet must be protected."
interesting use of wording though. Alpha and Omega, and the fact that they started the title with Omega Ruby. So it's Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
I'm saying that this is now the letters generation, considering we have X, Y, Alpha, and Omega.
Yeah, are we go? I think I don't know if we're gonna see the. We should check the. I'm loading up the image just for a reference. I'm not sure whether or not they had the Aleph and the Ohm symbol. Yeah. Groudon has the Ohm symbol on its arm.
Mm.
Yeah, they did some subtle work on the markings with them.
Not so subtle, to be honest.
Well,
It's pretty
not on Kyogre, but on
Kyogre seems to have a very rough Aleph symbol, though. I'll have to confirm because my knowledge of Greek isn't too heavy. But the other thing is that Alpha, Alpha and Omega are usually treated as, in the Western world, Alpha is the start and Omega is the end. So there's also that speculation leading into it. As where are we going with this, Nintendo?
I expect many more Sceptiles.
Many more.
Maybe they'll be a Mega Sceptile.
I pray.
Look, if they
I seriously doubt they're going to stop this Mega thing with Gen 6. I honestly think they're going to be bringing out a lot more in future games, so we'll probably see some here.
What I hope they'll do is when Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire come out, that they put in a firmware update for X and Y.
Yeah.
That way they become intercompatible.
I wouldn't be surprised if they've allowed that, yeah.
I'm pretty sure they should. They should for a very good reason. They should because the take-up of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire isn't going to be as big as X and Y. X and Y, the way it hit was essential, almost lightning in a bottle. It revived the franchise in such a way that not that many people were expecting. It really lifted 3DS and 2DS sales when it came out. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire won't have the same impact because all those people who want to play those games already own units. So it's going to be in Nintendo's best interests to actually bring both games up to the level, and then just put a whole bunch of extras in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire to encourage people to switch. I reckon because Pokemon Bank's already in place as infrastructure, it's just going to be set solid. If you upload your Pokemon to Pokemon Bank, you'll have access to them in OR and AS.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
Way back. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Oh well, we can let the speculation run wild because the rumor mill is just going to advance, especially after tomorrow, which is when they broadcast the game footage. And I'm hoping they give us
what they're going to tell us.
I am going to be away for most of the time that I'm going to be away from a computer for most of the time that they're going to be showing the footage. I will focus on the Twitter aspect of it as Twitter might explode again. Anyway, I'm hoping they don't remove customizable trainers from this one because I really enjoy the customizable trainer thing for X and Y. I just wish they put in more stuff.
What if we could coordinate with our Pokemon for the contests?
Oh, that'd be amazing! If they put that in there, I am going to make a full migration switch from X and Y to OR and AS.
Abandoning it already.
I know, and look, I've gone through the end game and playthroughs for both versions. So, as far as end game content, there's a wealth of stuff to do, but. Just as you get to the end of the end game, and once you get into competition grade for some of this stuff, suddenly they announce a new version. I suspect that they've timed this perfectly because the release date for this year is almost the same as last year. If you remember when last year's came out, it was October 22, I think it was, or 6.
Yeah. Roughly.
Something.
Yeah, this thing is coming out. I'm going to guess it's coming out on early November, worldwide. So the fact that the release windows are really close And the announcement windows were really close too, if you remember.
Yes.
So they've kind of have their pattern here, but again, the manner of release really helped the hype machine this time around. Like, we knew there was a 6th generation coming around. The remakes, no. We knew the remakes were coming around, but the announcement for the remakes, no, sir. We weren't expecting that at all. All right. We could gush for hours on this one headline, but that's not all the big news that's been dropped over the last 2 weeks.
We'll gush some more next episode when we have more information.
Oh, will we ever? Hoping in the next 2 weeks there will be a flood. I remember, though, that the best joke that came out of this one, I think I found, was the one Pokebeach did, where they revealed the leaked silhouettes of the starters for the next game.
Yeah.
All right. So, next headline, please.
Next headline. Pokkén Fighters trademark registered in Europe. 2 trademarks, Pokkén Fighters and Pokkén Tournament, were registered in Europe last week by Nintendo. This actually started last August when TPCI and Japan both filed similar trademark names. There was also a screenshot revealed in August of Lucario and Blaziken having a standoff in front of a Pokemon Center in a city. The layout is similar to in-game battles, except the whole scenery is in 3D. Recent movements have gotten people excited for some official news. So it looks like there's going to be a Street Fighter version of Pokemon, which is something a lot of people...
No, it looks like there's going to be a Tekken of Pokemon.
Tekken.
Wait, speculation. Again, my general thing is not to go crazy about what's going to happen, but we might get a bash 'em up. We might get a fighting game. It's a very unusual take, but not at all surprising.
I'm interested in the layout itself, though, because it is organized to look like Pokemon Battle, like with your character in the bottom left and then your opponent in the top right. So I'm quite interested to see how the actual fights take place, if it stays that way the whole time, or if that was just or if it moves around a lot like in the latest generation, or if it's a strictly side-on view like generic fighting games are.
If the control scheme is anything like the Naruto games for the PS3, then I'm okay with that, because it basically restricts you to a 4-button moveset.
Knowing Nintendo, they'll probably... Well, honestly, they could either go simple or they could go complicated.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping we avoid waggle fight controls, because I really don't like waggle fight controls.
We'll see.
I'm not expecting this to come out in anywhere in 2014. I'm expecting this to be a 2015 release.
Most likely.
Because the one thing Pokemon doesn't want to do is crash into the American winter sales for Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I should have pre-ordered for Smash Brothers, but Pokemon got in the way. But yeah, with Pokemon characters already in Smash Brothers and Pokkén Fighters being a registered trademark, and the preview they had at E3 last year, was it E3 or some sort of Pokemon related event? It was just down to, I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you expect?
I'm interested in it. I think a Pokemon fighter game has been something that a lot of people have been pining for a long time. And we got it to a point with Pokemon characters in Super Smash Brothers. I think the success of that has probably encouraged them to make this sort of game, really. But yeah, a real-time game where we can have Pokemon smash each other is going to be interesting.
Yeah, Rob?
Yeah?
What do you think of Pokkén Fighters?
I want to combo moves. I want to straight up beat up people with these Pokemon moves and show off combos and actually learn how to play a fighter game that is not Smash Brothers.
I want to tell everyone that if they cannot get enough of Pokkén Fighters for the moment, there is a fan game called Pokemon Type Wild, which is a 2D fighter that is so well animated. It's actually done, I think, by one of the earlier character designers of Pokemon.
No, he was one of the original. It was either original or early on animators of the Pokemon anime. So
Yeah, I mean the guy. It looks amazing. It plays like a proper fighter. It's very well balanced. It hasn't been updated since 2010, but
it's
if
meant
you
to
want
be
your fighting,
incomplete. But considering how much content there already is and how well structured it is, it's pretty much a finished game in a fan game term.
yeah, if you want your fighting game Pokemon fixed, get Pokemon Type Wild. There's an English patch you can get for it as well, since it was designed in Japan. But yeah, Pokkén Fighters, probably going to add it to the game library anyway, as soon as it gets announced. knowing our usual, knowing the usual day one pre-order thing. All right, what's up next?
Up next, Pokemon Art Academy. Rejoice, Pokemon artists, for there is now an art academy for Pokemon. To be released on the 3DS, the game teaches you how to draw Pokemon through lessons, starting with easy and eventually getting difficult. You can also share your artwork on Miiverse. The game comes out in June in Japan, but there is no international release date for now. But considering the amount of worldwide Pokemon fans, I think this will be another Right vs. Layton, where we see the not worldwide release soon enough.
I'm like Pokemon Art Academy is interesting in that they are essentially going to make me. Like they're going to force me to use the stylus and the dinky little touchpad at the bottom of the 3DS again. I'm like as a thing, I'm not overly impressed about it. As a tool to help kids draw Pokemon, absolutely approve. I would preload it on anything I gave to any of my nieces or nephews or younger cousins. As a thing that I would use myself, I would say that for people who really want to get an outright idea on what to do in terms of art, that's a really good guide. It's a great application to get in your 3DS. But if you really want to learn it, here's a tip: if you own a tablet or if you own a phone, grab.
If you own a paper and a pencil.
If you own a paper and pencil, look at a lot of reference pictures. If you want the really good reference pictures, we found that the Pokédex app for iOS actually allows you to bring up really large-scale 3D models of the Pokemon and hold them in a specific pose. So it's quite good.
I can already see myself at least challenging somebody to a battle with specifically those rules. Hey, let's use Pokemon Art Academy for a battle. Okay.
You can take a photo of the screen.
I would allow it. No, don't just or upload it to Miiverse, access it online, and copy the image.
Yeah, that too.
I'm not too happy that they're forcing us to use Miiverse. What I would have liked to see was more. What I would have liked to see was the Nintendo Letterbox reinstated. But a man can hope. So until that happens, yes, we're gonna have to use Miiverse. Miiverse is like Facebook for people who don't pay attention and like to hide behind. It's like Facebook. Okay.
Just leave it at that.
Yeah. All right, so next headline: Australian video game, and I'm gonna guess this is video game championships.
The Pokemon video game competition is officially in Australia for the second time. I think we announced this last episode. The finals have been announced to be in July in Melbourne. Any Australians wishing to grab their ticket to the World Championships can compete in the various regionals and put their best foot forward.
So the championships are, to quote the World Championships are, to quote the amazing Japanese commercial that cited the location, Washington D.C. Mildly racist, and this is why I can't have nice things. So it's gonna be
from now on.
Right. So while I'm digging my own hole here, basically the Australian Video Game Championships are on, which may not be a big thing to people who live in the U.S., but hey, this is the second year we've gotten it. We've got Nintendo's official support now, and we actually have, as a grand prize, Australian champions are flown straight to the venue for the World Championships. Used to not happen before. What used to happen before was if you had the money and you qualified in the worldwide rankings, you would get the invite. Whereas now it's a lot more accessible to people to actually grab their to actually grab the invite without having to go through the rigorous process of competing in the Pokemon video game league.
That's cool.
Much better. The qualifiers are really good now. Pokemon Australia, which has been running side by side with Nintendo of Australia, has been pretty much putting up a calendar of events to go to. We have people from around my neighborhood who've qualified for the regionals, so good luck to them. Unfortunately, we won't be able to make it to the Sydney regionals, but best of luck to everybody concerned. I hope you make it to the nationals and you kick the ass of whoever else comes in. Represent our state well and represent Australia well at the World Championships. I know that Europe has really good. Europe has a really good structured system for qualifying for the Worlds. The U.S., obviously, having been the longest-serving one, has had one for the Worlds as well. Japan has had one. Not sure about Southeast Asia, though. SEA hasn't got much love in terms of it, but I do know there have been people who have represented from Malaysia, I think, or Indonesia, who have risen through the ranks. Yeah. And it has to be noted that the VGC is, for the most part, the competition part of it is an invitational. So you don't just get to go in; you have to be invited.
Yeah.
There's a puppy on the Lunyuk screen. There was a puppy on Lunyuk screen.
It's adorable.
All right, so that's it from our external headlines. Now, I will point out that Pokemon Get TV is going to be broadcasting footage of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire tomorrow, Australian and that side of the hemisphere time. It's probably Sunday morning on our time, Saturday night, U.S. time. So if you manage to get yourself a good stream, then watch it. Otherwise, Pokebeach and all of the other chains are going to have it on broadcast. It will probably be on YouTube. They will. Nintendo will show footage sooner or later, and we will use the next IPLcast to gush over and overanalyze things as we usually do. All right. So, do you want to move to our IPL headlines?
IPL stuff. IPL Grand Festival is here.
Ta-da!
Yay! Do you believe you are the best coordinator in the IPL? Can you make your Pokemon shine greater than all the rest? Do you have what it takes to win the Grand Festival and be top coordinator? This spring and summer, the IPL will be hosting 5 super contests, all leading up to a Grand Festival in September, where those who place will duke it out for the crown achievement of being the Challenger Chain's top coordinator.
Sounds interesting.
I saw Lunyuk give a hands up. I also see a Togepi on his screen, so...
Yay!
Hooray!
I've been kind of wanting to do something like this for a long time, since bringing the Super Contests to the IPL, and this kind of is a small dream for anybody who liked the coordinator aspects of, especially the anime, which is where the name is pulled from. And I'll have journals updated and going up in like seconds if need be, but I hope that everybody else enjoys it. I'm excited to host these.
That sounds good. I don't think we've been real serious about super contests for a while now.
Nah.
Yeah, the super contests have gone on a bit of a lay low, but they're coming up in a big way with the Grand Festival. I'm really excited to see how it goes. I know I'm really looking forward to it, because having people do stuff that isn't necessarily battle related is really cool to see in the IPL now. It's that season. Yeah, so best of luck to anybody who wants to enter. Do we have details on how
When?
you entered? No, not so much when, but I mean like entry. As in, if you join the Grand Festival, is it going to be like all the way through spring and summer, or?
The current, you don't have, as it's set up now, you don't have to have participated in any of the previous contests or any of the current contests to be allowed to do the Grand Festival itself. The way it's set up is that there will be 5 contests, and each one is more or less independent from each other. So you can participate in all 5 if you want, which increases your chances of getting a place in the festival itself, like first, second, third, and then there's 2 honorable mentions in addition to this. So, depending on how big it is, obviously. But ideally, with that, there should be like at least 25, at most 25 people getting accepted into the Grand Festival itself. So each one of these contests is kind of like an audition to get into the Grand Festival, and then there will be one more appeal round in the Grand Festival open to only the people who placed in these contests already, to whittle it down to a tournament-friendly number where we will then have a competition after that.
Cool.
Right, so sweet. Okay, so qualifying rounds, guys. If you want to make it in for those first few rounds, then I suggest you get your Pokemon gussied up and ready for the first few contests. Looking forward to see how this goes. Rob's been amazing with managing the contests so far, so I can't wait to see how Grand Festival shapes up.
Well, the submissions some people make are amazing too, so I look forward to seeing what comes of it.
I just posted the journals for that. The Grand Festival journal proper has dates for each of the contests as they are. You're going to run for 2 weeks each, and then there's going to be a week break between them because, we've also got the Meander going on. More on that later. But I don't want to make people feel like they have to choose between doing the contests or anything else. So, and then who doesn't love dressing up their Pokemon? Who doesn't love crossing over their Pokemon?
Who will be judging these all of these contests anyway?
I will. It's to prevent me from actually entering myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's your baby. Can't wait to see how it handles. I'm just looking at how well that logo looks on IPL Gray.
I know, it looks wonderful. Like, you don't understand. I have 6 tie-dye shirts in my closet. Well, not really right now. They're all in my hamper, but I have 6 tie-dye shirts in my hamper. I've always loved so many colors and contrasts, and that's come true.
Oh man, I'm so glad I went with this option. I was thinking along the lines of this theme as well, but yeah, I actually. So for those who don't know, I actually do a lot of the titling and logo stuff for IPL. So if you don't see me publishing any actual art, that's because I'm a graphic designer. And I occasionally dabble into illustration. So if you're wondering why, if you're wondering why Kamata doesn't actually do any major battles, it's the fact that he's A, operating on a much higher tier, and B, I'm a graphic designer. I do logos and logography and all of this stuff really well, but illustration-wise, it's a bit of a challenge. So. That's why I can and will dabble into stuff, but I do make maps and I do make logos, and I will apply myself like crazy on those strengths. Anyway, my personal confessions aside. All right, if you are into the coordinator scene, if you really want to like show off what your Pokemon can do outside of battle, dazzle us. Please dazzle us. We love seeing it done. Join the Grand Festival. This is for you. This is one of the awesomest events in the IPL calendar right now. Okay, Going on to the other event in the IPL calendar right now.
Marlowe's Meander, what was it? The first turn of the third room is underway, and we've already had a few ineffective submissions. As explained before, damage is calculated in bulk within 4-hour windows. So if a bunch of people submit in 4 hours, damage reduction is calculated once for the whole sum of damage they do collectively. However, if one person submits in 4 hours, they take the full brunt damage reduction themselves, potentially reducing their damage output to 0. So be sure to coordinate with your fellow participants to make sure you do the most damage possible. You don't want this battle to last more than one turn, seriously.
I don't know if you guys had noticed in room 1 and room 2, but damage tends to be calculated depending on when you submit the work and how close you are in relation to somebody else. So if you submit way off, like if you take more than a day to submit and another guy submits another work, it is calculated differently. And that's really important to remember when you're submitting work for Marlowe's Meander, is that you are in there as a team. So you have to coordinate not just what you're going to do, but when you put it up.
So either, there's two ways to do this. You can either coordinate with a bunch of people specifically to make sure you all submit at the same time, or you can do what's generally been done at the moment and just leave the submission until the last minute when there's already going to be a bunch of people submitting something.
Here's the trick. This is the strategy I think that's going to win you. Though I don't know if it's going to get you very far in this round, but this is what I reckon you should do. When you create your work, don't submit it to the Meander gallery yet. Don't. Just don't. Wait. Wait until you can team up with somebody and then submit your works together or within a 4-hour time span. That way your damage gets calculated together and you make a bigger impact. Because right now, the two people who submitted, I think in separate entries, submitted their attacked the Pangoro, which has a listed damage reduction of 30. And if you have been paying attention to the experience log, you've seen that he's been rolling in the high 20s, and you've only been dealing single-digit damage. So there is some strategy. You don't just submit work and hope you whittle it down. You have to cooperate, you have to coordinate, and you have to be aware of what's going on. It's not just It's simple enough. Submit work, defeat enemy, but it's not so simple in the when and the how. So.
Of course, I think if you're intending to do status effects instead, then you could probably submit that whenever you want.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to look at it and we're going to analyze it generally by the way you submit it. But for the most part, if you're going to cast status effects, it will have a duration in terms of not turns, but encounters within that turn. So.
Emerson then off to Lorna.
Yeah.
I really
so
hope I just said your name right. I'm sorry. I better fabricate something from nothing.
That's if you look at it. If you look at it in a turn-based scenario, imagine there are all of you lined up in a row in the right column as you would with any RPG or wherever you're lined up, and you have your enemies on the opposing side, and each of you each character has a controller attached to it, and you have to press the button. And if you press the button once every 4 or so turns instead of combining damage, you're just doing individual damage. So. Things to think about. Things you will only get through IPLcast. Hint, hint.
Trainer Andrea asks via chat that she and Frey are collaborating this round. Does that net one extra points?
Yes, if you actually state that you're collaborating on a contiguous entry, you get the multiplier bonus.
Ah. That's good to know.
So, It's always submission points multiplied by number of collaborators that submit works. So it's a really good multiplier if you're hello. It just shifted to Luniak momentarily, or dog snout. There it is. So the way it's calculated as well is if you guys have seen the cameo bonus. The cameo bonus is chunky.
Yes,
The cameo bonus isn't just calculated from the individuals you include. It literally includes I think it's 4 damage for each cameo you insert. It's 4 damage on the maximum roll. I mean, so if you have 6 cameos, you have 24 a total of 24 maximum damage that'll be rolled. Yeah, and like I said, we've gone out of our way to specifically look for a true random number generator. I could roll dice. I have dice to roll, but I don't think you'd like me to roll any of these dice. The best part about the random number generators is I can set a minimum number as well, so you will never roll below a certain number. But it is the luck of the draw, which is why it's always good to attack in numbers in the encounter turns.
All right. I'll wait to the very last minute and include as many people as I possibly can.
Yeah, the last minute cram struggles are really good, but they also increase the tension because you guys submit a whole bunch of work right before the countdown stops, and everybody's like, "Did we do enough?"
Yeah.
Or is this going into a second turn?
It was really close last room.
Yeah.
We were almost sure that we were going to have a second turn on that one. And this one, even though everybody is saying we should not length this last one turn, I'm really predicting this is going to last another turn, and we're going to pay for this.
Oh boy, will he pay for this?
oh, Rowan knows something you don't.
Oh boy. Time to play in turn 2.
Let's be realistic about this though. This is room 3 is designed to introduce you to the harder concepts of the Meander, and there are only 8 rooms. So with each succeeding room,
only 8 rooms.
Yeah. Yep. Only 8 rooms, which each succeeding room though increasing difficulty. The scenarios are going to be different. The way you play is going to shift subtly, but yeah. Look out! Pay attention for rooms 3, room 6, and room 8. That's all I'm saying.
Well, room 8 was pretty obvious.
Room 3 and room 6. Room 6 is going to be interesting. Room 3, though, it will be in your best interests to really bring this down in one turn. But given the timeline discrepancy so far and the fact that the Pangoro has a damage reduction factor of 30, it's not gonna be as easy. Also, the encounter properly ends when you've defeated both enemies. So
what happens if they manage to defeat the Pangoro in one turn, but the other 2 are still there?
Then it still goes into turn 2. So just remember, it's your choice of which to take down. But usually, if you attack both, what we do is we split the damage across.
So if we wanted to take down Patsu, we'd want to hammer him individually for maximum damage. But then if we wanted to, yeah, okay.
So it's a battle strategy. Just you're in a multi-person raid, boss. It's a battle strategy. Okay.
Interesting.
Oh, the Meander is working out to be so good though.
I'm really enjoying drawing the art for this, by the way. Great fun.
Kind of realized after turn 1 I am a graphic designer, so just all the duty. Anyway, the other major thing. Nick, you listening?
IPL's first dev meet is in October in Metro Manila in the Philippines. Venues and dates will change, but keep posted so you can join in on the fun. If you live in Manila and want to meet Kamata and Rowan/Yena, which is me, in the flesh, as well as score the Meet the Boss badge, now is your chance. Now, the Meet the Boss badge is something that we actually attach to your IPL trainer card record, and it's also a button we give you in real life, if we can make the button this time.
If you, I might have some spares, but we do actually make real-life Met the Boss badges, and if you see us, and there are enough pictures of me on my IPL on my DeviantArt account that you can probably spot me. If you see me and grab me, I can probably whip up a badge.
Honestly, anyone who's watched the IPLcast will probably recognize you.
Yeah, anybody who's been watching us since episode 1 is going to be trained enough to my ugly mug to know how to identify me in a crowd. I am 6'1". I am a sore thumb in Manila. So,
and you'll be next to the whitest chick there.
I'll be next to the whitest redhead in town. So it's not going to be hard to spot two IPL admins. I will probably also venture to be wearing the IPL jacket at some point, or an IPL themed shirt. So it's not beyond reason that if you spot me, you should make every effort to push people aside to get to us.
Just mow down the oldest ladies there.
Mow down everybody. If you push them in front of the train, it's their fault for not maintaining their balance, but at least you get the badge.
Andrea's thoughts are there with you.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
We are. This is a very, very, very future thing, unless you can fund us. But Europe and the Pacific Northwest are the two major areas, as well as is Columbus. It's Columbus, right?
It's basically Columbus. I'm in a suburb. Columbus is big, but it's not that big.
That's all right. I'm on a slightly racist suburb, so it's. Lanyakouino is from the Philippine side of the IPLers is I believe going to either ninja around where we meet or actually going to meet us outright. If you want the badge, though, if you're listening, you have to meet us in person. So that's it. Yeah. I know that we have 5 people. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure. Well, I'm pretty sure Mugen Ginja's from the Philippines as well. We have GM Signal. We have Mika. Yeah, we have Psychic Bender Mika, and a whole bunch of other people who are willing to meet us. And there is a yay. Lanyak's drawn a yay.
Yay!
So 2 out of 3 admins isn't going to be bad at all. We are looking, if we can manage it, to have some swag to give away to lucky IPLers. Might run a contest with a prize or 2. Generally, we want to meet up with you guys because we rarely meet up with IPLers outside our own neighborhood, and it'd be nice to meet up with the IPLers who are actually from other countries and see them and get to hang out and get to know places. And this is my homecoming. I'm returning to the Philippines after a few years, so it'll be good, and it'll be Megan's first time in the in the Philippines as well. Yeah. So look forward to it. It is currently scheduled for October 16 at let me get this right. SM North EDSA at the Comic Alley in SM North EDSA, although that may change depending on where people are able to go and when. We might even split this up into 2 dev meets depending on who's able to go where. But that's SM North EDSA is my old stomping ground. I used to hang out there when I was a teenager, so I know the layout of the place. We're fine. I know where the Comic Alley is now. I've searched the store directory. I've been to the website. We're good. Okay. Let's move on, shall we? Before I get too nostalgic. What's up next?
The battle analysis. We have 2 battles to analyze today. Both of them are submissions that didn't get a response from their opponents, so we're not actually comparing them this time. But still, we need to have 2, so let's have a look.
All right, I'm going to get this to display in our handy-dandy screen share. Let me just see if I can actually grab the image. Yeah, here we go. Oh yeah, handy-dandy screen share, go!
I think I put the same link twice.
Did you send the same link twice? Is this the first one, or is this the second?
No, that's right. You've got the right one, but I mean in the outline we've got. I think I've put the same link twice.
Oh, okay. All right, can you put in the other link?
Maybe I mixed them up.
I will check them, but let's. No, they're different links.
Same. Really?
Oh, quick hint.
It's opening up the same link.
To anybody watching, you can go down to the bottom of the Hangouts and click the icon of the person that you're watching, so that it'll lock the image. So even when I'm talking and you see my ugly face, you're not jumping between my face and then Yenna's face and then Gina's face. You can just stay right on the image so you can see what we're talking about. Just
the other thing that you have to, as far as I'm not sure whether or not this worked in the previous IPL casts as well. I can hold it for the actual stream because I've got the control. So Lennox saying he likes it, but yeah, this is we overanalyze on this section. So let's this is the other work, I believe. We're going to be screen sharing. Okay, we'll load that later. That's Lennox. We'll save the best for last. All right, let's go to the first one. All right, thoughts.
I like it. It's stiff, but I do actually like what they're going with. Andrea's going with here.
The compositional movement is nice. I do like the arc that Umbreon's got, and then the slash of the shell blade, razor shell, whatever it's called, is nice. I do like that. Also, the look of surprise on Duo, it's nice as well.
Smoke trail. I really like that smoke trail.
It's very good, yeah. I reckon it could be incorporated more into the Umbreon, simply because it just seems to be billowing around its tail, and it's definitely like the Umbreon is transparent, but I reckon just more melded with the smoke would have looked really cool.
Yeah, as in like it forming out of the smoke. Yeah, this is I agree. This is a good point of improvement. Is it me, or does is it meant to be as they're moving? Because I'm looking at the ground and it's looking like it's moving in a certain direction.
It looks
considering
like it should.
Considering the direction the Umbreon is moving, it does. If the ground is meant to symbolize them both moving, then the Umbreon is particularly oddly positioned. I think simply the way it seems to twist, that in itself looks quite odd, considering the trail of movement the smoke is leaving. But it would look particularly odd if they were actually moving in a different direction to that.
Yeah, it's disorienting once you start looking into the picture, because the clouds are solid, the clouds are fine. The ground is a bit like, it doesn't necessarily take away from the action of the two Pokemon, but it does bring into question the shadow and the shadow placement. If that is solid ground, then I guess it's just a matter of having put slightly more solid detail so it didn't look so blurry. If it is moving ground, I don't think, shadows don't usually stay that still when the camera is moving.
Linnick writes, it's kind of weird how the Umbreon's shadow is in the background. there is that. I'm going to come right back to that. Andrea does say that she smudged the hell out of it.
Okay.
Excuse my tongue.
I can understand why she smudged it, because I think this is supposed to be a sort of a standing still thing. I don't think it's meant to symbolize movement, but I can understand that the reason behind smudging it is simply that ground detail is hard. And I honestly, like, I have to resist the urge myself to blur stuff just to fake detail and that sort of thing. But it does end up being more detrimental in some cases than if you just left it all sharp and had all those odd little colors. So, like, if considering the look of it at the moment, it is pretty good. Like, you can see all the dips and the rises simply from all the shadows and the colors used here. So I reckon if you had it sharper than that, it would still look pretty good. Another thing you could do is simply to open up pictures where similar ground is visible and just try to copy that if you can. You can just use different brushes so you can get the texture. I know Photoshop has brush options where you can use speckled, or just you can even make your own where there's just not smooth round, and then play with scatter, I think it's called, where you don't get a smooth line, you get the individual ones. It just looks fairly good if you play around with that for a while. Like, you can really fake a lot of textures just doing that. So yeah, in this case, with the ground being blurry and the clouds in the background, which is obviously further away, being so sharp, it does look rather strange. So if you want to put something blurry that's close up, you should at least have like the whole thing blurry. But yeah.
I do a couple thoughts. I think that this is another thing that we talked about in the last battle analysis was Andrea's piece, is that the ground perhaps could be a bit sharper. I do like the color gradations. I just think that maybe there should be a little more, like the edges shouldn't, like with the smudging, I think that she's on the right track with smudging it, but I also think that she needs to go back and harden out some of the edges, because if this is rock or dirt, it does have hard edges with the shadows.
Yeah.
I finally understood what Lily was saying about Umbreon's shadow in the background. It's not matching up light-wise, because it kind of looks like the light coming from that right side. I finally got that. That's a cast shadow thing. I can talk to you later about that, Andrea, about cast shadows, because that's something that I had trouble with, and I can help you with that later. Andrea writes that she's too dumb for brushes, so I do everything by hand, but reference idea is good. I tend not to rely a lot on Photoshop brushes myself either, but I find that flipping between soft brushes and hard brushes really does help, even with the transparency. So there's that. And if you're allergic to a hard brush, make the soft brush very small, and that'll fake looking like a hard brush, and then just color it on the inside of that. It's time consuming, but it does fake it enough that it does work.
I'm terrible with texture brushes myself. I rarely use them, and it's honestly only recently that I've actually started playing around with them. But if you do get the hang of them, they just look so much better. It's ridiculous how cool it looks.
Can I just? I'm just going to go on a slight tangent here, Laniak. If you're typing stuff, like if you're writing stuff backwards, don't, because it corrects the angle as you display it. So you've actually seen most of your text backwards. I can read it, but yeah, don't sweat yourself too much.
But yeah. The smoke. Now this is a personal preference thing, because this is something I do all the time because I overthink everything. But with Umbreon, I feel like the smoke, it would be a little cooler if the smoke came out of the glowing parts of Umbreon's haunches, the shoulders and the haunches. I think maybe that would tie it a little better, because it would seem like the smoke's coming from everywhere on the Umbreon, so it doesn't seem like it's coming from the tail or the back end. Instead, it won't. If I'm a dumb person, I might, start pulling humor from it, and I'm not pleased about it. I am a dude, so. But like if the smoke came from like the shoulders and trailed up and around, then it would continue the arc as well of the smoke, so that it would continue with a circular thing, which is good. I do like that.
Yeah, I think that comes back to simply blending the smoke more with the Umbreon, like I said before. Like, simply, instead of just making it look like it's coming out of the tail or something like that, it could be like the Umbreon itself is the smoke. So, like, you could probably find some way to gradiate that, like the Umbreon into the smoke, and then just like completely remove the tail if you wanted to. You could make the smoke darker and thicker there if you want, since that's the origin of it, and then it would sort of wisp a bit more like you've got it now. 'Cause I really do like this smoke. The way it curls and everything is really cool. With the posing, you've definitely done a good job with movement on the Duat, I think it's called, yeah. It does look quite stiff, which is something obviously just you get the hang of in time. So I'm not going to critique you too much on that, because you do a fairly good job with movement in general. I think what could help with this one here is just turning the shoulders a bit more so it's not so side-on, because I think that looks a bit awkward. Because the way he's swinging his arm, he'd be putting his shoulders and top half into that as well. So you'd curl the chest to fit that. In this case, his other shoulder would be hidden in a sense, because he'd be turned that way because he's putting the full force of the swing. In this one, it just looks like he's sort of just waving his arm around a little bit, and which does look a bit odd considering how much motion you've got coming off that, which looks good for the arm, but just in contrast with the rest of his body, it's not matching up. With the Umbreon, as I said before, his pose just looks a bit strange. The way he's twisting, it also looks stiff in itself, but I reckon what would really improve the Umbreon's pose is if you showed him twisting around himself. Like, clearly he's done that in midair, but if you did it showing him trying to twist as he landed, that would look a lot more natural, because he's clearly moved backwards that way, and obviously when people usually move in a certain direction, you're facing that direction, so you'd want to sort of show the Umbreon coming out of that sort of. If you pointed him the other way, like if you just sort of flipped him over and then maybe had his head turning, or one of his legs sort of, one of his front legs more lifted instead of both of them in the same place, that would probably show him on his way.
I would pose it instead. This is just me. I would pose it instead, taking the back legs and turning them. I keep the front half of Umbreon as they are, but I would take the back end of Umbreon and twist it so that we're seeing less of the leg that we're seeing now and a little more of the leg that is hidden right now, because it would seem like the Umbreon's then twisting itself in mid-air to come down.
Yeah, that would work too.
So that would be what I would suggest.
As usual, there's like many ways you could do this, so that would work too. Actually, I think like the one thing that bothers me the most is just that both his front feet are on the ground in a delicate little pose, which is good in some cases, but in this case it just looks fairly odd. Like, no one would realistically land that way or start a jump that way or something like that, or if they wouldn't turn that way unless they were a ballerina or something like that and they were particularly practiced at it. But yeah, like you could do it Rob's way, and you could probably just lift one of the legs to show movement in the front half as well. But yeah.
Sorry if I've been expressly silent. Listening to both of the feedback as well. Yeah, I agree with all of that actually. Like, I think one of my pet peeves about this, it's the only one really, is that there's a planar disconnect between the size of the smokestack when it starts and when it ends. In that the actual, if you took a measure and measured the left and right end of the smoke trail and followed it across, it'd all be relatively the same.
I can understand that it would be smaller where the Umbreon is, simply for depth. So if you think of this as the Umbreon being behind the Duat, which is fairly well, it's fairly clear that that's how it is with the way the shadows and the depth it's drawn. It would make sense that it's smaller there just from foreshortening. So I'm not really going to complain about that. I personally do like how it sort of fades out at the top there. It does look more smoky, and it is cool. But yeah, I think the biggest problem with the smokestack is the smoke is simply that it's not enough where the Umbreon, and it's not dark enough. Like the Umbreon is where it's originated, so that's where it's coming from. So the bit where the Duot is would obviously be the end of that trail, and it would be the lightest, if anything. You could probably get away with making it a bit darker, like as it is now, simply because that's where this big puff of smoke was when he disappeared. So there would be more smoke there naturally. And then, of course, it sort of drifts off where it is and then back to the Umbreon. But yeah, just more smoke at the Umbreon, blend the Umbreon more with the smoke. That would just look a lot better.
Right. So, having gone through this entire work, this was a default win. So we're not even gonna go into whether or not this one or not. This one. That's it. It's one.
Yeah, unless we've got the other one to compare it with, we really couldn't assess that anyway. But yeah,
so
I like it.
Compositionally, it's really nice. I do.
Yeah.
It's very harmonious. I really like this one.
So, moving completely away from comparisons, because this is a completely different battle, is... Uh-oh. There we go. Whoa.
Then you can already apologize for its file size.
That's okay. I just took one look at it and went, okay, ginormous dimensions, but let's look at it here.
So this one was requested by Lunyik earlier, so if anyone has a request that they want their own artwork to be critiqued, we're more than happy to.
Oh, yes.
It strikes you. It strikes you immediately.
Considering his opponent was Liège, who, if you guys recall, held the top slot, and I think she lost twice in her original run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would. This is a real, like, nice and proper up your game piece.
I really liked the movement in this. I think one thing that I noticed is the Doublade that the Mudkip is holding. I really like how they've been drawn. Like it really suits the angle. Like, particularly the one in his left hand that's pointing towards us. That's really nicely done, I've got to say. Like it looks really good.
This I wouldn't be surprised if this was the bottom or the capture panel of a comic book page.
Oh, it's definitely how a lot of Lunyik's pictures look.
The composition is dead on like that, and you can draw perspective straight from the back tree all the way to the front.
Mm-hmm.
If you follow the imaginary line going all the way to the back, where the rearmost tree is, and draw it to the front, you can form one-point perspective.
Yeah, you did a great job. Andrea brings up the scales, and I do say I like that. I don't think I've seen. I'm often running around, so I don't get to see as much of the detail as Lunyik puts into his works, honestly. So seeing the scales like this is really cool. Like that's texture. Like I can touch the back of that Dragon, but I don't want to because it's Dragon.
And it's not just textured; it's textured properly. It isn't just I'll drop it in here, but every single scale in there is worked to react with the light sources.
Yes.
No, it looks really good. Like the effort really paid off in that sense.
Yeah, I'm really liking the blue glow, to be honest, and the selective use of it as an outline on Gardegon. That's cool, and same with the red outline on Mudkip. This is honestly anything that I'm going to be pointing at is going to be kind of nitpicky, to be honest. Since I'm looking at this.
Yeah, this is, I would say, like this is proper like tournament grade art stuff. This is stuff I would see opponents dishing out to each other if we were on the quarterfinal or semifinal round of an OCT.
No.
Like I do have some critique there. The main thing that bothers me with this picture, which honestly isn't that big considering it is pretty cool, the I can't remember what it's named now. What's the red dragon called again?
Which one?
The red dragon.
I'm going to. That might be again.
No.
No, hold on. No.
I know this, but
Maniac, help us.
Okay, so the red dragon, the wings look really, really awkward. Considering you can see the way, even if you just argue that its head is turned and the rest of its body is sort of posed more in a different direction, the wings look really strangely placed. They don't seem to follow.
Vertebrae.
Yeah,
coming straight out of his back.
Yeah, they don't follow his spine in a way. They're not behind his shoulders as you normally see with dragon wings. They just seem to be placed strangely on his back. And considering most of him is cut off, it is difficult for us to naturally see where that would be ourselves. So the wings should be helping that, but really they're just confusing, if anything. Like even the red spikes that go down its back to the tail, that again is confusing because the red spikes are supposed to be directly on its back, I think. So the fact that they sort of follow up its back, so it's sort of sitting near the line there, it tells us that his back should be viewed side on, but then the wings are sort of directly in front of us, which it's just very confusing. Add into the fact that the one on the right looks really small, if anything. Like if you want to draw small wings, then that's okay. Like that's how it is. But it's just the way it's posed, I guess, just looks all squished and awkward. Like I think you probably could have that facing a different direction, or it could be just stretched out a bit more, which I know you couldn't really do since it would cover up the mudkip, but just placed differently. And I think they need to be moved to establish where this dragon's spine is.
It's a Drotagon.
Drotagon, that's it.
Yeah.
Lennick writes, he fully admits that the wings were a cop-out. He didn't have time for the legs or the arms, so he used the wings to cover it, which I'm noticing with the right wing itself. But yeah, no, I don't blame you at all, Lennick, for that one.
Look, it's a minor detraction from a decent piece, but yeah.
Keep in mind, since they are directly in front of us and are pretty much the foremost thing in this picture, it is noticeable in a sense, but again, the rest of the picture is really cool, so.
Yeah. The posing. Honestly, I know that you didn't have time to do the arms or legs. I think the Drotagon's overall pose could help with this, because I know that I hate doing lots of limbs when I'm trying to do something on a time crunch, but if I can get away with it, I'll try to hide the arms as much as I can and have at least just one arm there so that I can do it, and then twist the body into a position that I know I can use to hide it. So like with Drotagon, if given honestly, this is personal preference, but if I'm given a choice between drawing a dragon wing and an arm, I'd go an arm, personally, because with a dragon wing you have to contort a bat wing, generally, for your typical scaly dragon wing in order to make it look feasible enough, and since Drotagon kind of has those kinds of wings, you kind of do need to use the bat wing, which is it's a pain to draw. With Drotagon, I almost feel like you could have twisted it so that it's back. Like it's. I wish I could pose this in front of all of you, but I can't because I don't levitate. But like his back can run down so that his tail comes up, and we're facing his belly, and we're looking at his right shoulder in this piece. You can get his right shoulder, hide his two wings, hide his other arm with black. Like make it shadowed out, because it is very graphic, and you've already established that there are hard shadows. I would suggest that you can put his left arm, the one that's not facing us, in deep shadow, and it would still register as an arm within the style, and then have his one arm up and just kind of I'm gonna claw your face thing. So that would help, and then you could have the spikes on the tail as it is, and then the leg just do an oval. the digigrade legs can be very nice things sometimes, and I can, yeah. But yeah, I know more legs equals more scale. Oh yeah, well, more legs, more scales. Sorry, I'm reading the chat off of this. With appendage legs, appendages on reptiles, I don't know if you've noticed this, but the scales actually get smaller. And when they get smaller, you don't necessarily have to define every single one of them, otherwise it'll look awkward. Like the big scales that you have now, you kind of do need to draw and define. But with the smaller scales, you probably get away with just hiding it a couple details here and there and just speckling the lighting, to be honest, and that'll give the illusion of the texture. This is honestly an exercise in texture, which is not easy, it's not fun, it is tedious, but you know, there are ways to fake it, and I honestly do think that, yeah, this is all just from experience. Like, you don't have to draw every single scale. If you can do it, hide scales. They are a pain in the ass. Excuse my tongue again. They're a pain, and there are ways to fake it so that it looks like it's textured, even though you didn't actually draw every single one of the scales. So, like, with a lot of small scales, doing the speckling on the lighting or speckling the shadows to a point, like right at the rim where the shadow ends, would help. With hard scales, just lines, hard shapes, and hatching like you have here would help. Same with the, and again, size does matter in this. So, like, again, with the bag scales, they are very large, so you do have to put some work into defining those scales. But on smaller appendage legs, you can probably shrink them. It's like, that's just little stupid tricks. To
it would work though. That is a good idea of how to do that. Yeah.
And then, of course, because you do have a very comic book aesthetic here, with very actiony kind of sort of, this is a manga splash panel. This is a panel from an American comic book. It's a beautiful meld of both. You could probably get away with reducing detail like they do in mangas, while still at the same time utilizing the color and lighting aspects of American comic books to achieve the super in-your-face punch aspects that you have. And I do very much approve. I do like all that you have, and the only reason I'm kind of going into this is because I know that you can do it. I know you can do it. So, I mean, I don't know how else to say that. Otherwise, spine twisting and appendages, pick your battles, and texture is a pain on a good day.
With splash battles and the deadlines we put on them, it is going to be a compromise, and it's a working out of what you're willing to sacrifice in order to make the piece overall better. And I think this is a good example of that, is what could we have dropped or lessened, what could we have improved on or focused on, and it's all down to compromise. You're not going to get everything amazingly well done in the time you have to complete the splash battle. Grats to you if you can. You're not always going to pull it off, so you're going to have to make sacrifices along the way. And it's going to be judged on those merits. Is what you sacrificed better overall for the piece, or did you sacrifice in a detail which could have been dropped, and you know, something else that would have had more value attached to it in the overall judgment? But this is a good compromise.
Yes.
It's a really it's a very balanced piece. Nothing's too out there. The background. What I love about the background is that it's got detail, but it's not detailed enough that it's distracting, and it's not so bereft of detail that you question where it is. And I've been staring for about 2 minutes at that tie. Don't know. The most detailed thing in this piece is probably that tie.
Two things. Lunique mentions that Liège probably would have still kicked his butt Yeah, she probably would have, because on that whole sacrifice bit, she gets so much darn detail in those pieces that it is mind-boggling. To be honest, I did fight her myself, and I still can't get over it. And I still feel like she copped out, and it still had way more detail than my piece had, and I turned her into a giant Amazonian woman due to perspective errors. But aside, I don't know if you noticed. I don't know if you know, Monique, you noticed this, but you actually did do a good thing with this composition. I know you copped out with Draudigon's wings, but there is something that I do recall, is that sometimes in composition with, your rule of thirds, you can stick a golden spiral in there, with the center of that spiral being at one of those rule of thirds points, thereabouts. What you've got going here is that your tie is right on one of those rule of thirds points, and the idea, Nick Safarian gave this to me in one of my critiques, is why I'm even bringing it up, is you then focus more detail in the center of the spiral and less detail as you spiral out. So like if you put that spiral right where that tie is, you'll notice that most of the detail is there, but then there's more detail around the mudkip, and then there's less detail as it spirals out to the trees. So that really does make this a very strong piece. And
it's got good focus,
yeah, this is beautiful, and you'd be amazed how well this works and how well this makes a piece with even, simplistic elements at the very edges and cop-outs, like wings that you admit. Yeah, it's an accident. Take note of it, though, because when you make an accident and it turns out to be a happy accident, you keep it.
Another thing you could mention about the composition, it's got a strong I think it's called line of eye movement or something similar like that. So if you start with the Draudigon's head, because that's clearly the most eye-catching part, like this big red head, and then you follow its body around, the tail then leads you all the way to the mudkip, where its arms lead you all the way through the mudkip, and then back out through the sword. And then you could also technically go back in. So it holds the eye, essentially. And that's another thing that people should really focus on when they're doing artworks, because if you don't do it right, it does actually influence the viewer in the sense that if it's not done right, people won't look at it as long as you want them to, whereas if you do it right, people will actually stare at this for a lot longer than you'd think. So it can affect just how people see this thing. So if they're not looking at it long enough, then obviously they won't notice all the cool little things that you put in there, that sort of thing. But if you do it right, people notice small things like the tie, essentially. So
okay, so there's two of three things which I think. Two of three things which I think make this piece exceptionally strong. Like I said, I qualify this as competition grade because this really does look like competition grade. The first is the thing that Rob mentioned, the spiral of detail coming out from near the center of the piece, going out, and with lessening detail. The second was the thing that that Rowan mentioned, which was the line of movement that follows through from the Draudigon's head all the way down and back to the mudkip. The third is a very, very wise choice in color contrast. You use blue outline on a red Draudigon and a red outline on a blue mudkip, and being very effective color contrasts. You've also placed them really close to each other in such a way that it is the literal first thing the eye grabs when you look at the piece. My eyes were straight on that center section. It practically ignored everything else, and then my eyes started to wander. But because there's so much contrast between those two on the first two, you have grabbed somebody's attention for an extended amount of time. They will look at this.
And that's not even taking into account the black and white slash, the graphic elements and letters that people already recognize and immediately go to. That really cuts through the colors and gives the contrast to the colors itself, which is very strong, and I do like that. And then, to go back to what Rowan was saying about the line of movement, it also works in reverse, because you'll look at Draudigon's face, but then you see he's looking at Mudkip, and then the slash takes you back to the tail, and that brings you back to the head. So it's like,
essentially, either way you choose to look at this, it does keep you there, and you just keep looking at it. And I think that's the main thing that artists want. They want people to stay, and they want people to look at it. And you've done a very good job there.
My
Yes.
final thing with regards to this piece has to do with what if Leash put a piece, and we can't speculate on what Leash's piece would have been because she changes her game every now and again. But I will say this: very very strong use of color, very very strong use of detail, like detail diminishing throughout the piece. Very good use of allowing the eye to follow movement. If Leash, and this is not a detriment to Leash's work, but if Leash drops the ball on any one of those aspects, I would have given the verdict to Laniak.
She
Because
does
this is a very strong piece on its own style. I think judges have to remember this as well, that it has to be judged separate too, but in accordance with the other work. So if she does another work in a very distinctive, very amazing, very detailed style, but she doesn't follow the basic of the basics, then this piece is stronger by default.
Mm-hmm.
So this piece gets its foundation right, and that's what I love about it. It's not just the art style. It's not just all the accessory stuff. It's the fact that it's compositionally it's grounded extremely well.
It is, yeah.
And then it does play up Laniak's strengths. It does play up what he's strong in, which you can when you're going up against somebody that has different backgrounds and perhaps more experience than you. It really does play to your strengths, and Laniak, you do have strengths, and you do have a lot of solid groundwork.
This also does one thing really good in that this is a very good reflection of Laniak. Like it really does exemplify his style to the nth degree.
If you have to put a portfolio together tomorrow, put this in.
Put this piece in, yeah. Seriously, if you're going to apply for anything with regards to illustration, put this piece in. It is one of the best battle pieces I've seen in a while.
It makes me very nervous for our battle.
All right. So, we've been gushing over things this episode, so I might name the episode something with regards to gushing.
I think we've been at this for about an hour and 45 minutes now.
Something like that. I will have to trim down the start, but otherwise this is one of the longer shows we've done.
Sorry.
Oh goodness. Yeah, that's fine. Look, it's amazing to see this sort of work in the IPL. So if you have anything at all you want us to analyze the crap out of, feel free to drop us a note or comment on the info journal or whatever. We're easily accessible via YouTube, via where we are in the on DeviantArt. It's easy enough to get to us. So keeping in touch. Yes, keeping in touch with us won't be that hard. And read Athens' journal, the biggest, the most super of all super contests, is now properly on. Please join the Grand Festival. I can't wait to see what you guys are doing. And also, this ends just as Chapter 2 kicks in. And if you haven't joined the Meander yet, oh my gosh, you are missing out on a lot right now. Really good battle art and people working together to bring down the big bad. So there is a lot happening along in the IPL right now. There's a lot more coming. We don't want the momentum to ease one bit right now. I'm really happy where it's going. Okay, so from all of us here, this will be the end of IPLcast 5. Stand by in 2, maybe 3 weeks, and we will have IPLcast 6. And then we can properly gush about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. We might even show some pictures. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye, and see you later.
See you,
See
kids.
ya.